Let's talk about one of the methods that Special Operations Forces use to ensure that they are prepared to accomplish any mission. It involves training hard and under pressure or stress so that game day is easier than a training day. One of the reasons that Special Operations Forces are so successful is that they train hard. I mean very hard. Harder than most people could ever imagine. Let's talk about their training, with a specific emphasis on training as you fight, physical stress, mental stress, and then let's give some civilian examples. The military likes to talk about training as you fight. What this means is that you need to replicate battlefield conditions when training so that you are more prepared for war. So if your enemy is in the desert, then you need to train in the desert. If your enemy is in an urban location, then you need to train in an urban environment. If you will be most successful attacking your enemy at night, then you need to train in periods of limited visibility with your night vision goggles. This is why you need to do underwater training in full uniform. This is why you always need to ruck march in full uniform. The more you are prepared for war, the better you will do in war. I think we all get this principle. But I don't fully agree with the idea of training as you fight. I like the idea of training harder than you fight. If you add physical and mental pressure or stress to your training event, then you will be way more prepared to execute on game day when the conditions are perhaps more favorable. One of the best ways to ensure that you have mastered a skill is to ensure that you can do it when you're tired. This is one of the reasons that special operations training is so difficult and exhausting. If you are able to plan and execute a platoon-sized raid on the last day of a 10-day patrol at Ranger School, then for sure you've mastered troop leading procedures, planning, and mission command. I remember that before we would do our hand-to-hand combat training each day in the Special Forces qualification course, they would take 30 to 45 minutes and just smoke us crazy. I remember being absolutely exhausted, and then we would fight each other. The premise is that if you can fight someone when you're physically exhausted, then for sure you will remember the techniques and be able to destroy your opponent when you're fresh or running on adrenaline. Most special operations training is mentally stressful through the physical stress. It's a mental game through the physical game. By placing enough physical pressure on a trainee, the cadre is able to give you mental stress. Then they can add in a lack of information. This will increase the amount of stress for sure. Or they will add a casualty or a civilian on the battlefield. This will increase the stress level of a training event for sure. Or you can add in time pressure. This adds pressure and stress to any training event. A perfect example of time pressure is Jumpmaster School. At Jumpmaster School, the final test is for you to JMPI or inspect the parachute rigs of 3 soldiers in 5 minutes. Basically, if you can do a JMPI perfectly in 1.5 minutes under pressure, you will do it perfectly in 3 or 4 minutes when not under pressure, and this ensures the safety of all future jumpers. Adding pressure or stress to any situation is a great way to ensure that you own this skill. Now let's apply this to some civilian examples. I've recently taken up the hobby of archery. I'm shooting 15 to 20 arrows every day at 20 meters. Although I'm still getting used to the weight of the bow, I occasionally shoot with a wrist weight to add stress. If I can learn to accurately aim and shoot my bow with the added stress of a wrist weight, then for sure I can accurately aim and shoot my bow without the wrist weight. If you are preparing for an event or a competition or a performance that's going to take place inside in a nice clean environment, then train for it outside or in a loud place or where you will have a lot of distractions. If you can perfectly execute your skill when you're freezing or miserably hot or tired or distracted, then you should be able to do it even better in a controlled environment. If you're going to give a speech, then rehearse it. Better yet, rehearse it without your slides or the notes. Plan for a hostile audience and rehearse answering the hardest questions. I remember training for a triathlon competition while working with the Joint Task Force Bravo in Honduras several years ago. One of my buddies agreed to lend me his several $1,000 road bike, but I didn't train with his road bike. I borrowed another buddy's bike. It was such a hunk of junk. Despite that junker bike weighing about 40 pounds, I rode it 2 or 3 laps around the airfield as hard as I could every single day for a week. And then when it came time for the actual competition, I crushed everyone. I was so used to pedaling that junker bike that when I jumped out of the pool and I got onto the competition bike, it seemed like I was cheating. The bike practically pedaled itself. It was so easy to make that bike scream down the road that when it came time for the run, I was refreshed and ready to go. Okay, there you have it, an overview of stress training. If you incorporate physical and mental pressure or stress into your training, you are going to be so much more prepared on game day. I absolutely recommend that you incorporate stress training into your preparation for anything that matters. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep on learning and to forward this video to a friend who needs to see this. Life is a special operation. Are you ready for it?